Hello, this is Clayton Balmus, and I'm your teacher here today in our audio classroom here at SynMax University, available at synmaxperformancelubricants.com. And today we're going to be talking about break-in procedures for metal surface improvement in the engine, transmission, and axles. That means rear end, okay? And so I hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I enjoy sharing it with you. Now, we're going to be, for sake of time, if you desire, you can pause and read through the slides a little more. So we're going to hit the highlights of this presentation, but I think it'll help out. You see, a break-in procedure increases metal surface technology by using heat and operational cycles to activate what we call the micron metal sponge environment within the component and metal areas. Okay? The break-in process performs a simultaneous combination of one, matching components by leveling the peaks and valleys of the surface areas, two, releasing contaminants held within the metal subsurface levels, including the holding case, etc. The break-in procedure happens through heat, friction, and cool down cycles, or what we call a heat soak. When the metal expands and contracts, like a sponge that opens and closes the pores to release, receive, and soak in, particles of contaminants are released into the fluid and flushed away upon hot draining. Okay? So like a sponge, it opens up, and when it's hot, it releases the subparticles out. Okay? And like a sponge, the sprawls and micro nano levels of the surface of the metal, then number three, on the reverse effect, can, when it's hot, receive the surface technology such as moly or diamond-like carbonates or diamond-like additive materials into the metal surface through these same heat and friction cycles. The reason this is so important is everybody says, that's just the break-in process. No, it is very, very important. Now, if you want to achieve your own without a dyno room, what we always like to do is this. If you want to be able to do it on your own, if you get a fresh engine, or your dyno or your engine builder might have their own thing. But always preheat the oil to 150 degrees before you run it in the engine. I don't care if you're racing or in the dyno. It just helps, okay? And, you know, uh, the goal is to reproduce a long-term power-up dyno session, all right? Now you can pause and read this as you require. And here's another area you can read. The key that you want to reproduce is slow, medium, and full throttle sessions. And a heat soak is very important to allow it to cool down after these sessions, whether you're in a dyno room or not. You do not take an engine and just say, woohoo, it's ready to go, and just fire up and go. Because the fact of life is this: even after you get the engine from the engine builder, and this is especially true at the NASCAR type level, the engine is still breaking in during its test session and laps. You might say, why is that? Well, that's why if you were to do a test session, you have high wear metals because it's still breaking in. All right? But you see, they really don't care because they send the motor back after a week or two. You got to live with it. So even if you get your engine from the engine builder, try to reproduce this one more time in your own car, in your own sessions. Now, one of the main keys that we're trying to achieve in a break-in is to protect and mate the cam with the lifter components. The other one that is equally important is to have full cylinder compression seating at the rings and the wall. Now, you achieve this as an engine builder. You have like a pressure sensor in the block. And as soon as you have full compression and then the block is at its lowest point, or the point that you're trying to achieve, then you know you have full compression. That is why a quality break-in oil is so important. You need to have a high zinc content, a mineral product, and low detergency, so this mating and efficiency process can take place. Okay, and that product can be, obviously found with the SynMax break-in motor oil. Now you have a transmission and differential break-in cycles. This is very, very important. Now usually the transmission is mated fairly well. All right, but what we're trying to do, unless you've got these special aerospace painting and coatings and everything that's going on, is you need to have some slow, medium, and full periods of time, even if you get it brand new. All right, you can do this on your early test sessions or a test session day on the transmission and the differential. You see, when the process is finished and the gears are mated together and the cases have been cleansed, then you hot drain it. You might say, why? Well, the fact is, with these aluminum cases or even steel cases, if the case temperature, not the oil, but if the case temperature gets above 230 degrees in whatever situation, then the silicates from the aluminum or the metal comes into the oil and it has to be drained. Furthermore, you have micron metal contaminants that's still within the gears and the oil that have to be drained before you put your synthetic in. And a synthetic is not a break-in oil. All right? No offense to Mobil 1, but you just don't put the Mobil 1 in and wonder why 6 months later, it's just a national brand, why it don't work. You have to get those components out. So let me again emphasize, the case and the metal surfaces, like a micron metal sponge, have to be open and hot to release it. The mineral oils with the hypoid type products, such as found in the break-in gear lube 8090, will receive them. And as soon as you come in off the track on the differential and the transmission, you can then allow that and then you drain it. I guarantee you, if you drain those surfaces after they've been cleansed and everything's well, you don't need that high-tech coatings that you spend, $300 to $500 on your case. Okay? You can be able to do this dyno in your test and tune session. It's like this. If you have surgery and the doctor does the surgery, right? There's two types of therapy. You have what's called a surgical therapy. In other words, you worked on your foot, okay, or whatever component on your body. And then there's where you have to take care of it, all right? And then that's just called physical therapy. Now, the physical therapy of you keeping your foot up, and if you had surgery on your foot and keeping ice on it, that's like the break-in process. The break-in process for the drivetrain and the engine is the most important part of the entire thing. And if you do it with a diesel oil or the wrong chemistry, or you just open throttle into it and bust it up, I'm sorry, you're not going to have the success that you want. And then while you drain it hot, what we can do is then you put your synthetic oils in that have your additive technology you want to put onto the surface. Furthermore, I didn't say on the engine, please use a filter with 100% filtration. Do not let any particles float through. We have a presentation that is an oil filtration presentation, and that will help out as well. Again, the goal of the break-in process is to get the metal components hot, to open up the micron metals of the pore, all right? And then it's to smooth out the micron peaks and valleys, and so that the parts match each other, all right? What we're trying to cleanse out is the submicron metal particles, the gasket material, sealant, silicon, and other materials need to be flushed away with a break-in oil, either in the engine, transmission, or differential. For instance, if you buy a new car, okay, you need to drain those fluids, all the fluids in the whole car at about 1,000 miles. All right, you need to be able to do that. And another thing is that your engine builder sometimes doesn't have a lot of time to do a full break-in process, and they want you, relying on you to take care of it for those first moments of time to complete the break-in process for what you need to do. Like as we mentioned before, the aluminum case of when you're above 180 to 200 degrees, the silicates will be released out of the inside of the case. Unless it's sonic cleansed, okay, you will not get that out. And just painting over it isn't going to do it either, all right? You have to yourself get it up to operational temperature. That's why in the this applies to automatic transmissions as well. Unless that case was sonic cleansed, you need to drain that fluid because you need to look at it. There could be particles floating around, which isn't good for your torque converter and clutches. All right. So in any instance that you have, you need to do that. That is one of the reasons that SynMax also has the 8090 break-in gear loop with the proper additive packages in there. Even if your components are pre-matched, we still suggest that you do a break-in process to eliminate as much of the micron subparticles as possible. You know, dude, you just spent $2,000 on your rear end, or $2,000 to $5,000 in your differential, or $10,000 to $30,000 on your engine. What's a couple $100 to do it right? Okay, just think of the business model. Well, one of the things that a lot of people do is they try to finish the surface with a remming that makes it like a mirror. And what we're trying to say is this: if you have a mirror finish, what the hell is the oil going to stick to? Okay? Go ahead. If you put oil on micro sandpaper, is it going to run off? No, it's going to stick. So if you put oil on a mirror, it's going to slide right off. Now, the only other way that you could be able to do that is if you have additive package such as what SynMax has with a tackifier, which increases the polarity to draw to it. If you did spend the money on coatings on whatever that you had, it will work in conjunction with the coatings to help them. They won't break them off. It'll actually help them last longer. But the fact of life that we have to look at, all right, is that if you are going to rim your surface, you have to have micro pits in the surface to hold the oil. Think about it. If you have an engine and you have your what I call machining swirls, okay, in the combustion chamber, those honing marks, machining marks, is designed to hold oil and hold the lubricant. So if you're doing that in your combustion chamber, why is it on your axles, on your ring and pinion and your gears, that you need to have micron little areas for the oil to be held? And if you stop that, how is the oil supposed to be held? And then at that point of friction, you're really going to, it's not going to be fun. Um, a lot of people used to use the truck oils, you know, and we have to have a full mineral oil with the right additives, which is a high zinc, at least 1,500 parts per million of zinc, low detergency, like we said. Don't use the old diesel truck oils because they don't have the additive packages anymore. All right, and that might have worked 10 years ago, but it's not going to work today. So please, try to get the right oil for the application. So that's the end of our presentation. In general, if you want to be able to have the diamond-like additives to get into the surface that you're attempting to do, such as SynMax has, you have to have a break-in process to cleanse the surface, open the pores up so that the additives can come in. If you do not have a quality break-in procedure for your engine, transmission, or differential, I'm sorry, but you're going to suffer the consequences. But if you do, spend that little extra time. Dude, I know you want to go to the track, but if you spend that little extra time, I guarantee you that extra time that you spend for a proper break-in with heat soak cycles and everything else is going to yield you time on the back end triple more. So this is Clayton Balmas with SynMax University here at synmaxperformancelubricants.com, and we just wanted to thank you for our time together, and we'll see you at our next session. Okay? Bye now.